Hi there, my name is Valerie Dayrit. I'm a sacred poet, channeler, and an author. Welcome to my dimensions of storytelling. Hello, beautiful consciousness. Today I am inspired to read to you from my book called The Laughter That Exists Amongst the Madness. Be still, my child, and watch how beautiful the storm is. Let it be a sound of symphony as it reaches its powerful vibrational core, shaking peaks. Let it take you and show you the rawness of life, to enter and understand the deepness of where life can take you. Be still, my child. Sit, listen, and watch as the storm of life flashes in an array of vibrational colors. Let it hug and wrap it around your soul. Let it shake your core. This too shall pass. As nothing lasts forever, for life is an instant. The title of this passage is called God and the Poet Watching the Storm. Thank you. Hello, beautiful consciousness. I hope you got to enjoy that passage. It is from my book called The Laughter That Exists Amongst the Madness. This book is fantastic. The reason why it's such an amazing book is because I've been recently reading it again, and it reminded me how much stories this book has, the deepness of it, the strength of it, that it took me to write the storylines that this book has. It took me to so many paths, and the intricacies of what it means to channel for consciousness of life, consciousness of gods, consciousness of stories, all these beautiful energies that are so woven into our lives. And when I was writing this book, I was in such a deep space of rawness. Everything in me was so raw, everything in me was pulled apart. And in those spaces where I was broken, I got to see my cracks and the edges of that, and what was in there, and the shadows, the laughter, the craziness, the madness. Um, just learning so much about myself as a channeler and as a writer, and traveling into the ether and understanding what exists in there, what exists within me, in my layers, and how scary it was to walk into the unknown, walk into the shadow realms, and start to witness myself bloom in these places where it was so dark. And the visiting the places that was covered in trauma, in pain, and having to sit there and do my healing work, and God with me, sitting with me. And I remember this passage so well because it is one of my best memories that I can remember, honestly. As a writer, I write so much in a day that I go in and out of stories. So once I write a story, I pretty much forget about it. And then I'm moving on to the next page, and I'm completely immersed into that, and I write everything that I can within that moment what that story is trying to give it to me. And then once I'm done with that, I move on to the next. So that's the kind of writer that I am. I write a lot of stories, and I go into these beautiful spaces. I get pulled into these spaces. I get invited into these spaces. And as a writer and as a poet, I am drawn to simply enter into these places, and I try my best to my utmost not to carry what I had from the space that I've been into this next space that I am entering into. Hence, I tend to completely forget everything here, and so that when I enter into this new space, I'm completely new, and I never want to interfere what that story was in this space that I've entered into. And when I enter into this new space, I never want any of that to kind of, in a way, energetically, in a way, um, kind of merge, if that makes sense. Because I respect each spaces the way they are. And it's my responsibility as a traveler, a writer, to maintain that what is within that space is what it is, and that I bring nothing in there to, in a way, corrupt that space. And so I'm extremely attentive to make sure that I don't do that. That I respect these spaces, these sacred spaces that I'm blessed enough to be able to enter into and listen to the stories that they are telling me and communicating with me. And so back to that passage, and I clearly remember that passage so well. I remember I was in such a pain space, and I could witness myself, witness the storylines of myself, and I'm in the center of it, and it was like a storm happening around me, and I was in the center of that, and I was sitting with God, and as you heard from the conversation, I was being taught by God in that moment to sit still and to simply witness the storylines that I went through, witness the pain that I went through, and that everything will pass, because nothing lasts forever. Because everything in itself is an evolution, is a continuum process, and that's what life is about. And the storylines themselves continues on, and they will seek what they need to seek. And as a writer, my my responsibility is to feel, see, listen, and understand to my best capability, and write it. And so that's what that passage was about. And so you can find my books on Amazon. Enjoy reading them. Thank you.